Alright, so let's talk Google Stadia, shall we? Now, this is a very interesting platform because honestly, I wasn't really hyped for Google Stadia, to be honest with you. I don't think a lot of people were, except those, of course, who were getting it for free to review. And now I have a couple of articles here that I'm going to refer to for this specific video, and that is talking about Google Stadia and some of the sale numbers, or not necessarily the sale numbers, but more so how many times it's been downloaded and some stats. And then I want to talk about this thing that Stadia is doing to, in my opinion, get back or possibly entice more people to buy Google Stadia in a last-ditch effort to really enhance and target more sales overall. So, Google Stadia app has been downloaded over 175 times. Over 90% of downloads were on Android and over 41% were in the US. Though we don't have sale numbers on Google Stadia's launch, an extremely rough approximation can be gleaned from the number of downloads on of the mobile app, which stands at over 175,000 according to Sensor Tower. The app appears to be effectively necessary to use Google Stadia, as it is the only way to purchase games that allows users to cast games to their browsers or TV via Chromecast. While those who have not purchased Google Stadia can still download the free app from the App Store or Google Play, without an access code received from purchasing Stadia, the app is still useless. Sensor Tower has shared that 90.7% of all downloads of the Stadia app were on Android, while the rest were on iOS. The platform split may be at least in part due to the fact that Stadia can only be played on mobile via Pixel phones, making it a more appealing prospect to those already going through the Play Store in the first place. Additionally, the US accounted for over 41% of all downloads of the Stadia app. Now let's talk about something that I think Google Stadia is trying to do in an attempt to lure more people in to buying their service or platform. I don't necessarily consider it a platform, although it technically is. I consider it more so of a service, which technically it is. So Google Stadia users now can claim over 4 free games. Now, get ready, Stadia gamers. You now have access to 2 more free games as a part of your Stadia Pro membership. Stadia founder and Premier users now have access to Tomb Raider Definitive Edition and Farming Simulator 19 Platinum Edition for free. If you previously purchased either a game before claiming the claiming period, you can request a full-on refund. So, Google Stadia on Twitter stated that our Stadia Pro lineup keeps on growing. Tomb Raider Definitive Edition and Farming Simulator 19 are both coming to Stadia Pro in December. Obviously this month. Just log in and redeem them at no additional charge with Stadia Pro. Now, this is on top of 2 other games that are already available on Google Stadia, Destiny 2, as well as Samurai Showdown, or Showdown, or however you pronounce it. Now, I think this is interesting, but let's just talk about the pricing here. So Google Stadia was launched at a price of 169 Canadian. This is a Canadian article to represent us Canadians, good, and an additional $10 per month charged through Pro subscriptions to play the games in 4K resolution. Now, as for the rest of the article, it kind of goes on to showcase, I suppose, social media as well as everyone's reactions regarding Stadia and its arguably disastrous launch, and overall people's, in particular gamers, and consumers' thoughts about Stadia and some troubles that they had during launch. And this just highlights and shows you why services or platforms such as Google Stadia are not something that we gamers are entirely interested in. I know I'm not, and I know a lot of other people aren't. I mean, if you were to compare Xbox One as well as PlayStation 4's launch, and I know they're completely different, they had a lot more time to market, and it was hard for Google Stadia to get into the video game market. As a competitor, I think any person who looks at the numbers and the specific stats, listen, 175 overall Google Stadia downloads. Let's say, for the sake of it, they got 500,000 overall internationally for Google Stadia, which I think just kind of overestimates the actual numbers in a bit. That is still significantly less than what PlayStation 4 and Xbox One got. I heard that they got roughly about over 1 million sales within the first 24 hours. and for Google Stadia to apparently only receive a quarter of that number is absolutely ridiculous, and it's hard for Google Stadia. I think Google Stadia would have had a better shot having 2020, the first couple of months for 2020, to really flush out these games and have, Cyberpunk, Watch Dogs, Legion, and other games. I was going to say The Last of Us, but then I realized that's a PlayStation exclusive game. So have these different games, maybe even Call of Duty, and have like discounts for people who buy Google Stadia, so that people will be enticed to get Google Stadia to play cheaper games. But ultimately, Google Stadia, not only does it cost money to buy and cost money for the service, but it also costs money to play the games. Probably the same probably the same or even more expensive to buy these games, and that is a horrible look for Google Stadia, which just goes to show you why people aren't probably interested in it to begin with. So it's unfortunate that Google Stadia has had this fallout, but I'm sure they're going to pick up eventually and find different ways to strategize and get people to essentially consume or buy their products. I'm not necessarily interested in it, but I am hopeful for Google Stadia. I want to see them succeed. I don't want them to see them fail. So yeah, let me know your thoughts and opinions in the comment section below about Google Stadia. Have you gotten it? That's what I want to know. Have you gotten it? And if you have, what are your thoughts about it? Do you enjoy it? And with that being said, thank you very much for watching. Take care.